Let's talk about topic number 2. This is one that is near and dear and close to my heart. Meta has launched its much-awaited Threads API, letting developers publish posts, fetch content, manage replies, view analytics, and more after a beta period in March. We are now in June. The API is now available. They've been promising this since the beginning, Yaniv. In fact, they've been promising interoperability with Mastodon through the ActivityPub protocol, I believe it's called. Longtime followers of my work will know I built the data portability project. I probably can take credit for popularizing that phrase globally, data portability. And it is now, in the GDPR law. I participated in conversations around OpenAI, OAuth, portable contacts, OPML, all these standards, some of which have made it, some of which have not, XMPP for chat and so on. So yeah, open standards are near and dear to my heart. And actually one of the main antagonists to the community was Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. And in the last couple of shows, we've mentioned Josh Ellman, friend of mine, friend of Amir's, who's running Apple Intelligence right now. He was the head of developer platform at Facebook. And that's how we met. I sat next to him next to a speaker dinner and was ready to go toe to toe with him. You guys suck and why aren't you using open standards? And he was like, yeah, I agree with you.
Damn it.
Here's how we're thinking about it. And yeah, he completely defeated my argument.
Where's the fun in that?
So that was how we first encountered each other, actually. And so to see Zuckerberg and that company embrace open source, open standards, there are commercial reasons, but it's an interesting play vis-a-vis X and Twitter. What do you think, Yaniv?
Yeah, I mean, what it sort of reminds me of, especially with your setup, Chris, is Microsoft's embrace of open source, right? It's very interesting to see how businesses shift their strategies. Microsoft was the antagonist, the enemy of open source. And then when the ground shifted under it, it became one of the champions and remains one of the champions of open source projects, right? And I think, again, if you look at Meta, when you're the challenger, you like openness. When you are the leader, you like closedness. That's what you're seeing here. And I've got mixed feelings about Threads because we've talked at length, perhaps ad nauseum, about the whole Twitter X Elon drama and all of that. And so because of that, I think it is really important and valuable that there is a viable competitor to X. That we've used this phrase, the public square. If one of the public squares is getting a little bit weird, it's nice to have another public square you can go to. And Threads sort of could be that. But I feel like it hasn't fulfilled its potential yet. Well, I'd be interested in your thoughts, Chris. We've talked about the issue of moderation on Twitter, content moderation, and the fact that it's always been very weak and loose. There's a lot of horrible stuff on Twitter. But I actually think there's different kinds of moderation, like getting rid of child sexual abuse material, getting rid of blatant neo-Nazi and racist propaganda. I think that's really important. But one of the things on Twitter has always been you can just kind of say what you want. And that is, okay, that's within the Overton window on Twitter, right? And part of that is because of this sort of hands-off approach to moderation. Even at the end, you always say, where can people find you? And even I say, I'm on LinkedIn. And for my spicier stuff, I'm on Twitter. Because there are things that you just can't say on LinkedIn that you can say on Twitter. And one of my issues with Threads from the beginning is its moderation has been pretty heavy-handed. So when I think about Twitter, Chris, in some ways it reminds me of the US. You're there at the moment. You're in San Francisco where you have got the most valuable companies in the world, the most dynamic startup scene in the world, all of this energy and the best of humanity. And you also have people dying of fentanyl overdoses on Market Street every day. Twitter's always been like that to me. It's been like the best and the worst of humanity. And I think Elon Musk has tilted it towards the worst over the best, which I think is terrible. But I wonder if Threads can actually capture the best if it is overly restrictive in its content moderation.
Yeah. I don't know if they're dying every day, but there's certainly a lot of desperation and scenes of decay in certain parts of San Francisco. And weirdly, some of it is occurring at the base of the Twitter building. It's happening on right there on 7th and Market, 8th and Market, 9th and Market, and in the Tenderloin, which is just north of Market there. And so, yeah, Twitter is weirdly positioned at the intersection of some of the worst of San Francisco. And yet you go a few blocks up and you're where I'm staying at Hayes Valley, literally a few blocks up. And it's beautiful and the birds are chirping and the sun's out and there's, very little presence of homeless people here. Although some guy walked past my window yesterday at about 10 p.m. blaring a loudspeaker with music for some reason. I don't know. San Francisco's going to San Francisco. I do think there needs to be multiple town squares. I've often referred to the world as a kind of a theme park with different cities and countries and states optimized for different things. And I think that needs to be true on the internet to some degree. There can't just be one town square. Elon's town square is the grittier, realer, in some cases more hateful, in some cases now more pornographic town square. And Threads is the well-manicured, well-curated version of that. Maybe it's like Zurich or something. I think it's really interesting that for somebody who has clearly had a difficulty with normal affect and normal social interaction like Mark Zuckerberg, he's had the most sensitivity to building many of the most popular social spaces online. I think that's interesting. Some of it's just, you can argue he bought it or he copied it or he whatever, but I just think we need to give him credit for that. And then we need to give him credit for launching Threads and making a serious go of that, deeply enmeshing it and integrating it into his surfaces like Facebook and Instagram. It's an important thing for humanity and for the online community that Threads succeeds, that there's a counterbalance there. As an open data, open standards, open protocol advocate, I think it's fantastic that they've either been forced to or chose to go through an open API route. A last point I guess I'll make on this is Twitter is the company that developers built. Twitter did not have many of the killer features that Twitter has today at the beginning. And I don't even think those features were a gleam in the product manager's eyes. They had no idea. None. Jack Dorsey just had no clue about these features. I'm talking about @replies. I'm talking about images. I'm talking about retweets. I'm talking about likes. None of this stuff existed in Twitter. Even I think mobile apps and desktop clients didn't exist. This was all stuff built by developers, and Twitter, the company, over and over and over again, slapped developers in the face, gutted the developer ecosystem, and abused developers everywhere. And Amir, our friend, we've mentioned now twice, was the last head of developer platform at Twitter. And I was thrilled about this. The whole community, all the insiders in Silicon Valley were thrilled about this because Amir, we knew, had a lot of empathy for developers and had a wonderful roadmap of trying to build back Twitter's developer ecosystem. We were all skeptical, don't get me wrong. We all thought, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. But we believed in Amir. And well, sure enough, Twitter, the company, fired Amir. This is not the first, this was the third, fourth, fifth developer catastrophe for developers on Twitter. And so I'm very, very grateful and happy that Threads is embracing it. I'd like to see what developers do, and hopefully there's a steady and thoughtful roadmap from here.
One can hope. Again, it's nice to see them embracing the developer ecosystem. I think it's a natural effect of competition is when one door closes, right? When Twitter shuts the door to developers, it leaves a white space. And I think it's wonderful to see Threads take it up. And again, I don't know if this is a platform that has legs. To me, again, Chris, it's not clear where it fits into ecosystems. Like I said, I've got Instagram for social stuff, LinkedIn for more serious businessy stuff, and Twitter for anything goes, the best and the worst of humanity. Where does Threads fit into that? I don't know, but it's nice to see them actually trying and being developer friendly.
Yeah, actually, Josh Ellman once described Facebook to me as a kind of square. Everybody is following everybody and they get each other's updates. You have to kind of do a double opt-in. This has changed now because Facebook has follow and pages and what have you, but Facebook's primary interaction model was a square. And Twitter's was a triangle. So you were at the top and you would broadcast out. He described to me that, these use cases were very different. Maybe it moved from Facebook to Twitter, actually. This guy has been everywhere. And it's like, these are just very different social contracts, very different behaviors. And I think that's the point of Threads. It's the triangle to Facebook's square. It fits into the platonic shapes of the Facebook portfolio very neatly. But you're right, if it's very well curated, maybe a LinkedIn does that. But LinkedIn, again, is more square shaped. It tends to be more about the people you follow who follow you back in your first degree networks.
Those are our thoughts on Threads. What are yours? If you've tried it, have you stuck to using it? And also, what do you think of the new Threads API? Do you think it's possible that it will ever supplant Twitter? Join us in the comments and let us know your thoughts.